to assist police in fighting crime there. Operation Prosper will see soldiers being deployed from this month until October this year, pending reassessment of the situation. For more, let's chat to independent crime analyst, that's Dr. Chris De Kok. He joins us now from our Pretoria studios. Good afternoon, Doctor, and thank you so much for your time on the SABC News Desk.
Good afternoon, and also to the viewers.
Chris, human rights groups, you heard, they're very concerned about the army operating in what really is a civilian environment. Do they have a point?
Yeah, I think they've got a point, but I think there's even more points to that. I always said that I think it is wrong to deploy an army in a crime situation or to try and control a crime situation. You should not use the army lightly. It's a bad thing. It's about human rights, but there's even other problems. Say, for example, the army now comes under fire of these gangs. They get into a situation where they draw fire from gangs with heavy caliber firearms. What are they going to do? They're going to react. They're going to shoot back. And that may be quite damaging. It may really cause quite a loss of life and limb. Then also, it always creates a very bad perception internationally if you use an army or any defense force elements in an internal situation. It looks like a state of emergency. And it's actually strange also that if we think that the ANC government, this government have actually been against it all the time, and now suddenly, and quite surprisingly, the defense force are deployed in these areas. It actually shows that the situation is quite out of control, that the violence levels have increased to such an extent that they are now forced to put army elements into this situation. So I'm against it, and I think they've got a point.
Doctor, will rolling in the army actually help solve anything in the long term, permanently so? Because it does not fundamentally address the problems that cause crime in the targeted areas, will it? It just keeps reverberating in my mind is that the social conditions, the conditions that actually breed crime of this nature is not being addressed at this point.
Yeah, well, there's actually two or three things that one can say. The first thing is, look, the fact that the army is there now, that are going to be deployed, may help with increased visibility. So what you may find is that for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months until they are withdrawn, they may decrease the levels of crime, especially gangsterism, because they may be too afraid to attack the police, to do their criminal activities while the army is there. But in the long run, it won't solve the problem. You see, and it will also not solve the problem of bad policing or a lack of capacity on the policing side, because you will have to restore the police, you will have to train the police within a very short period of time. So when the army withdraw again, the police should be ready, and that is quite a difficult task. And then, as you have pointed out, the conditions that cause gangsterism, that cause this kind of crime, is socio-economic, and that won't be solved within 6 months or even a year. It will take quite a number of years before you can address that kind of problems.
Doc, it's been about 9 months since we saw the anti-gang strategy that was launched. Now, some residents back then, I remember, said it was far too little too late. But it did seem at that time to have all the ingredients we needed to clean up the area. There was strong political support, community mobilization, and like you're saying, a highly visible, well-equipped police team. But it hasn't been enough to stop gangsterism. Where were those teams falling short, do you think?
Well, I think that when people enter this, when these units were created, when they enter the situation, there was this, on the gangster side, it actually causes some, they were too afraid to act. On the other hand, the police were doing a fine job at that stage, but then eventually they get tired, and eventually they lose interest, and they lose focus. And also, I think where there's a big shortcoming maybe is on the whole area of intelligence, that there is not enough intelligence on the gangs, on the gang structures, on the individuals which are involved in crimes to really detect and then arrest and then to process those gangsters who cause all the violence. I think that is the reason. Also, can I also say...
Go ahead.
That in the last few weeks, we have seen in the newspapers, in the media, quite a lot of noise about instability in the police management in the Western Cape. It seems there is quite a lot of things going on in the management of the police management of the Western Cape. And the moment that starts to happen, people lose focus on what they really should do.
All right, we've heard calls even by the President himself for a more robust partnership between police and the community, but we do sometimes see a very dangerous dynamic emerging where some community members themselves will move to protect the drug lord or gang boss in question because of financial aid or favours they might receive. So there is this perverse kind of loyalty, if you want to call it that, that is difficult to break and may serve as an hindrance to the intelligence gathering you're speaking about.
Yeah, you see where you have gangsterism, and where you have gangsterism over more than nearly a century in the Western Cape. I mean, this thing is coming for many years, say at least 50, 60 years or more. Where you have this gangsterism, the community becomes used to it, and it offers protection to the community. It offers protection to the community become involved, there's a lot of money involved for the community, a lot of things that they get out of this, and then you get this very strange situation that they don't want the gangsterism, they actually feel that they're on the gangster side. So you find this type of thing, and that is why it will take many years to get rid of gangsterism. It is not an easy phenomena to get rid of. Can I also add that there are some other communities which are, it seems the army is also going to be deployed. Mention was made of Nyanga. I don't know if Kailicha is also included. In that areas, gangsterism is not the main problem, but vigilantism is quite a problem, because there's very high levels of crime, especially violent robberies. Now, in that case, I don't think the Defence Force is the right tool to solve that problem.
When it comes to incidents of vigilantism that you're mentioning, Doctor, it of course leads one to think that there's a great deficit of trust and public faith in these areas in the South African police services. How do we address that problem at this juncture in some of the hotspots you've mentioned?
The only way you can address that is when the police start to do their work, when they are highly visible, in high numbers, in an area like Kailicha, in an area like Nyanga, and where their operations are based or focused on the hotspots, and in that case, these street robberies will disappear. And when that disappears, people will restore their trust in the police, and you won't find vigilantism. At the present moment, those communities feel that that is the only way that they will solve the street robberies. The fact that they are robbed, people are robbed on their way to work and back from work every day.
Dr. Chris De Kok, our independent crime analyst, joining us from our Pretoria studios. Thank you for your time on the SABC News Desk. Let's move on. Our police are